Hi, welcome to a new Green Spirit channel video. Today, I'm gonna be reviewing an article from the Rich Dad website called The Rich Know How to Print Money Legally. And you can too. Thank you. New rule of money number 8. Since money is losing more and more value, learn to print your own. Learn to print your own money. Summary. Inflation is rising. Wages aren't. Saving won't save you. Learn to achieve infinite returns and legally print your own money. In order to print your own money, you must first operate on the right side of the cash flow quadrant. So in the right side of the cash flow quadrant, we got business owners and investors, while in the left column, we have the employed and the self-employed, right? Over the last 2 decades, the average wage of the American worker has either dropped or gone flat. Meanwhile, inflation has continued to grow. In simple terms, this means you're making less money, and it's buying you less than it used to. In today's economy, it's lunacy to think you'll get ahead by getting a good job and saving money. Your money loses more and more value each day. In the new world of money, it's imperative that you learn how to print your own money legally. An infinite return. One of the best advantages of financial education is the ability to print your own money. The way you can do this legally is via a financial term known as return on investment, ROI. When you talk to most financial experts, they will tell you that 5 to 12% is a good return on investment. And it is, if you don't have financial education. Another thing they will say is that the higher the return, the higher the risk. That's also true if you don't have financial intelligence. But with a high financial IQ, you realize that an infinite return on your investments isn't entirely out of reach. The definition Robert Kiyosaki uses for an infinite return is money for nothing. More specifically, an infinite return is when you get all your money back from an investment in a cash flowing asset. You still own that asset and you still enjoy the cash flow month in and month out. Printing your own money. Printing your own money starts with being on the right side, not the left. So there's no right, correct side, but it means with being on the right side of Rich Dad cash flow quadrant, which Robert frequently discusses. The cash flow quadrant is divided into 4 types of people, 2 in each category. As I said, on the left are employees and self-employed, on the right are business owners and investors. If you want to print your own money, you can't do it on the left side of the quadrant. You can only build a money printing machine if you eat, sleep, and breathe on the right side of the quadrant. The reason for this is simple. Employees don't own the machine, they work for the machine. Self-employed people also don't own the machine. Rather, they own a job that often contracts to the money printing machine because they sell their hours, which are a finite resource. They cannot possibly achieve the infinite returns that come with a money printing machine. So build a money printing machine on the right side of the cash flow quadrant. The ultra-rich operate solely on the right side of the cash flow quadrant, and they're the ones who have figured out how to legally print their own money. The reason for this is also simple. They own the machine. They own it. Business owners build businesses specifically for the purpose of printing money legally. They easily achieve infinite returns after they get back their initial investment they used to start a business. It's the same with investors. Once they get their initial money back and still own the investment, they are in the money printing business and are achieving infinite returns. You can only print your own money legally if you own the machine, which means to operate on the right side of the cash flow quadrant. Let's go over a couple examples. How to print your own money business. Robert and Kim started the Rich Dad Company at their kitchen table. Rather than use their own money, they raised $250,000 from investors. In less than 3 years, thanks to the growth of business, they paid back their investors 100% plus an additional 100% to purchase back their shares. So they raised 250,000 from investors, and in less than 3 years, they returned 500,000, which is quite impressive. We should take a look at this in a less superficial way. So today, their business puts millions into their pockets even though they have none of their own money invested in it. That's an infinite return. In other words, their business prints money for them. How to print your own money with other people's money? This brings in a key point: using other people's money to achieve infinite returns quickly. Before we dive onto OPM, we should first cover a rich dad fundamental: the difference between good debt and bad debt. If you grow up learning the old rules of money, you probably have heard that debt is bad, but that's not simply true. The new rules of money necessitate debt if you want to get rich, as long as it's good debt. Bad debt is used for liabilities, things like cars and vacations. These are things that you don't need and that lose value over time. They take money out of your pocket each month. So it's a double whammy of losing money from your liabilities and losing money to bad debt and interest. Good debt is used to purchase assets that put cash in your pocket each month. Good debt is things like equity partner money, a loan for an investment property, venture capital, etc. So, other people's money is a form of good debt. You need high financial intelligence to use it appropriately, but when you do, you get to printing money that much faster. Here's an example from a post Robert wrote specifically on other people's money. So, first scenario. You encounter a 100,000 purchase price. You get an 80,000 loan at 5% interest. So you also have 20,000 of your own money for equity. Running through a simple mortgage calculator, your annual cost for this loan would be about 8,500. Assuming that you have an income from the property of 11,000 a year, after expenses are paid, your total net income would be 2,500. That's 11,000 minus 8,500. So Your return on investment for this would be 2,500 divided into divided by 20,000. This is a 12.5% return of investment, assuming that you had 20,000 of your own money for equity. In the second scenario, you have the same numbers, but you don't have 20,000 of your own money. You have 20,000 of other people's money at 7% interest. You get paid 50% of net operating income as the finder of the deal. In this case, your annual loan costs would still be 8,500, but you would also have an additional cost of around 1,500 for the other people's money you borrowed for equity based on an assumed 7%. So, total loan and other people's money interest costs will be 10,000. Again, assuming you have an income from the property of 11,000 a year after expenses are paid, your total net income would be 1,000. Your fee for putting the deal together would be 50% of the NOI. In this case, 500. 50% of 1,000. Your return on investment for this would be infinite because you're making $500 without any money in the deal. As you can see, other people's money is a powerful money printing machine when used correctly. How to print your money, your own money in real estate. To print money through real estate, Robert works with his real estate partner, Ken McElroy. Often, they will find an underperforming apartment community, purchase it with investor money, do upgrades, raise rents, and increase the value of the property. They can then refinance that property tax-free and pay back their investors from the loan proceeds, while still enjoying positive cash flow. Once all investors are paid back, they still enjoy the cash flow. That too is an infinite return. Those are just a few examples of how you can, with the right financial education, print your own money. And doesn't it make more sense than working harder at a job to pay more in taxes, saving money in the bank and losing purchasing power, or risking your money for the long term in the stock market? Yeah, it does. Increase your financial IQ today and start printing your own money the legal way. But guess what, Mr. Robert Kiyosaki? Who has got the possibility, to get a $80,000 loan with no property to lateralize the loan? And what if you can just raise all these other people money? Why couldn't they make this on their own? I'm not sure. But if this strategy has been useful to Mr. Robert Kiyosaki and he's made incredible returns out of it, well, I'm glad. And probably he could give even more info, or maybe tell how did he get the loan, how did he manage to reunite other people's money, this sum. There are some things that this man doesn't tell, but in the end, he's in the education market. So as long as he gives out bullet tips or bullet points for the other people to learn about these strategies, it's fine and it's cool. So inflation is rising, wages aren't, saving won't save. That's a nice bullet point. Learn to achieve infinite returns lately bring your own money. Well, it's not the most accessible technique, but it's a working one. And in order to print your own money, you must first operate on the right side of the cash flow quadrant. So it was last updated for 15 May 2025, but this article comes from 2016. That's, 9 years. Has something changed? Well, pretty not much, right? Thank you very much for listening to my video on this article on how to print your own money. I hope that you're taking care over there, and feel free to make any comment. Let's go.